Welcome back, everyone, to Speaking of Art. I'm your host, Edwin Hoffman, coming to you live from the WAAM studios on Packard Road in beautiful Ann Arbor, Michigan. Beautiful everywhere in our region. Beautiful in Chelsea, Michigan. And as you know, we are in the midst of a very special broadcast, everybody. In the first half hour, Zach Fisher, a star in Emma's Weddings, the upcoming production, which is just going to be stellar at the Purple Rose. It's beginning on June 25th. We have his co-star now, Sarab Kamoo, is going to be joining us. And it's very, very special for me because these actors are incredibly accomplished in all their work. All we have to do is read their bios. And perhaps you've seen their work in other theaters around the country. The way that they come back to the Purple Rose from one play after another, and it is wonderful to be able to see that kind of camaraderie. When you're in the audience, you pick up on it. You know that these people have worked together, they feel very comfortable together, and the audiences love seeing these actors again. And I think maybe more than anything else, even more than the architecture of the Purple Rose, that wonderful little bowl that brings everybody. I remember Churchill always said, the Houses of Parliament, it needs to be small. We could make it bigger. It should be small because people should be crowded together. Something good comes from that, and that is exactly what happens at the Purple Rose. We are celebrating the 35th anniversary, the finale, the season finale at the Purple Rose, Emma's Weddings. This is a world premiere by Carrie Krim, directed by Kate Thompson-Savina, and it is going to be just fabulous. And I am so happy to be able to welcome Sarab Kamoo, who plays Emma in this upcoming production. Sarab, welcome to Speaking of Art.
Thank you, Edwin. Thank you so much. It's so nice to be here.
Well, I said it to Zach, and I'm going to say it to you, because to be able to speak to an actor when there's an upcoming production on a Saturday means a lot. And I just want to say thank you very, very much. And any arm twisting that Caitlin Cavanaugh had to do to bring you both on my show on a Saturday, I really owe her.
Arm twisting. No arm twisting. First of all, I'll do anything for Caitlin. I love her dearly, and I am so happy to be on your program. I appreciate you so much for doing this for us. So thank you.
Well, it's a joy. It is a joy, and it's really what I set out to do with this, this little show was, what is it like to find yourself feeling creative again? And I think whether we watch a movie for the 100th time, one of our favorites, or whether we go to a place like the Purple Rose and we see a play that we like, we're there for the second time or the third time. I think it's that wonderful, that prodding, that pleasant reminder that we are creative ourselves. And so when I see you on stage with Emma's Wedding, and I can't wait to be able to see that, but your other productions also, everybody is reminded that they've got to contribute creatively. And that I imagine that kind of energy at the Purple Rose fires you when you're there. Am I correct?
Yes, you are. It is such a team there, an incredible team. Every day when I'm there, I'm just like, wow, everybody is so stellar at what they do. And so many people do multiple things, right? And I'm just absolutely amazed every time. And I've been blessed enough to work there, for quite a few years, and
yes.
I'm still in awe of it, how committed and focused and professional everybody is at what they do. So, yeah, it's quite a team.
You are a resident artist at the Purple Rose, and you have been associated with them since 1994. And I can only imagine the feeling that you've had as your career has just developed in the patina of the different roles and the experiences that brings you up to Emma's Wedding. I know that's too big a subject for us to be able to talk about today. But I just want to go. I have your bio right here, and I have it all marked up, and I just want to do a few highlights here.
Sure.
You have played in theaters all over the country. You have played Blanche in A Streetcar Named Desire. Also, Death of a Salesman in the Flint Repertory Theater, such an important theater in our region. Baba, a one-woman show, which along with 9 parts of Desire, another one-woman show that you did, that has got to be the Hercules labor of acting. I am a huge fan of one-actor performances, and I don't know whether it goes back to James Whitmore, seeing him as Truman when I was a kid. but the courage it takes, the distillation of everything you've learned to be there in a one-woman show. Can you just do a little digression for a moment and tell us what it's like to do that kind of a production?
Oh my gosh, let me tell you something. So 9 Parts of Desire, that show, oh my gosh, it is so like personal to me, Edwin. It's I play 9 different Iraqi women. I am of Iraqi descent.
Yes. And
so in this play by Heather Raffo, who is a dear friend of mine as well. She's originally from Lansing. I don't know if you knew this. But this production she's done all over, and it's been done in other countries, and it's incredible. I don't know if you've ever read it or seen it. But I played 9 different Iraqi women who have been exposed to war in some way, and they're all different. Like one is, one is a 13-year-old, one is in her 80s, one is an artist, one, is an old woman grieving her children that she lost to the war. It's such a beautiful and poetic show, and I actually did that, Edwin. I did it first in 2007 was the first time I ever did that show. And we subsequently did it, 4 other times. So I did it at the Performance Network when that was around in Ann Arbor. We did it at the Old Theater in Detroit. We did it in Dearborn. That was our first time. And then, of course, I did it at Williamston in 2021. That was my last time. But it never, I never get sick of it. I love that show so dearly. And when I first did it, it was my first solo show I'd ever done, and I felt like I had run a marathon. By the end of the 90 minutes, I was breathing heavy. I was like, I'm never going to be able to sustain this. And then, of course, just like with any kind of physical activity, you just train for it. And I surprised myself. And so you asked how it was. It was amazing. And then when Tony Caselli, my dear friend and the incredible artistic director at Williamston, asked me to do another solo show called Baba there, just that last season, I was super excited. That play is also so meaningful. I play a man in the first half of it, a man in the 80s who is getting his young child her passport to go to Egypt. And that's the whole first half. And I play a man, and then in the transition, I take off this big suit, and I had a big belly, padded belly we took off, and a hat and a mustache, and then I transform into the daughter 35 years later. So, and then I play her perspective later on in life. So it was a really great experience. So
oh my God!
Yeah.
You've reintroduced me to the physicality of acting. I mean, we were talking about that with Zach too. I mean, the Purple Rose is famous for multiple roles, in a production for a single actor. Let me ask you this: do you, from your experience doing the solo shows, is that a rite of passage that every actor should go through? Is there an alchemy that takes place when you are playing the same person and you're the only person on that stage for the run?
Okay.
Should every actor go through that?
I don't know. Maybe some actors wouldn't want to do something like that. I loved that challenge because nobody can save you, right? Edwin, it's there's not another actor, which I've, again, worked with amazing actors where if you get lost somewhere, they'll pull you right back and they save you. And I would hopefully do the same exact thing for them. But when you're by yourself, nope, it's just you. There was a point where at that last time I did 9 Parts and Williamston, it was a preview, I believe it was a preview, and I got confused with what, because I played 9 different people, which person I was next. And I looked up at the stage manager, where the stage manager was, the amazing stepped in, and she pulled me back somehow. I think she gave me some sort of audio signal, which pulled me back for me to know where I was. So she saved me. So it does happen where you still might have somebody who can help you out. But it is, it's scary. You're kind of out there by yourself, but it's also such a fun
That is
challenge.
that is a fantastic, Sarab, a wonderful story. I mean, and some of the actors you've worked with, Jeff Daniels in Super Sucker, Robert De Niro in Stone. You've done extensive film, television, and stage. And this was something, maybe I'll try to spin the question around from the first half hour with Zach with a similar background. What it's like to sort of return to the stage after doing television, after doing film, and the need for the audience. Is that something that almost like a time zone that you have to go through as an actor, or you just through the rehearsals you get comfortable doing it, and all of a sudden you're right there, you feel home again. You're right in front of a live audience, and that's what an actor needs to do.
Yeah. Well, okay. So first of all, Super Sucker was my first film, and how cool is that, right? To do it with Jeff, it was such a great experience. And but you know what? When the subsequent film and television that I did after that, I was still doing theater at the same time, simultaneously. So I never really took like this hiatus away and then just focused on, film and television. I was doing it kind of all at the same time. So I never really got far away from theater, which I'm so grateful for, because it is, to me, I think it's the greatest type of training you could ever have to go into film and television, because in film and television, in my experiences, they're like small little like snippets, like maybe 30-second scenes, right? And, it's not that hard to memorize, or it's, I don't want to make it sound like it was easier, but in some aspects, to me, it is a little bit easier, because in a play, you tell a story from beginning to end, and you keep that emotional kind of like journey the whole way through. But the challenge, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, the challenge in film is that you could be plopped and do a scene at the end of the show, or the end of the TV show, and it could be an emotional piece, and you got to jump right into it. Like there's no leap up into it. So that's extremely challenging. So I think they both have their challenges, but there is something about that live, having people there, right there, breathing with you, that energy, and especially at the Rose, Edwin, like they are like 1 foot away, and like I can feel them. They have perfume. I can smell them. Like they're right there with you, and I don't know, it's the coolest thing. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just such a gift.
Well, the last time I was there for the production that just closed a couple of weeks ago, there was a very tall gentleman. He was right there, in the first row. He was stretched out a little bit, and I think he was hitting the rug of the the set.
That's all the time. People will stretch out their legs, and it's like, okay, you're going to have to move those because I'm going to be there in about 2 minutes. So it's like you never know. It's funny.
But Sarab, you mentioned journeys a moment ago and stuff. Tell us a little bit about Emma's journey. I mean, this is, even though it's a standalone play, Emma's Wedding, written by the same acclaimed playwright, Carrie Krim, and directed by Kate Thompson-Savina, it sort of sprang from what springs forth. And we have the same cast. We have you. We have Sonia Marquis. We have Dewandra Nichols. Susie Reagan is involved with Emma's Wedding also, and so there's kind of like a journey that's gone on here, and one thinks maybe a development in them, and this is another stage of their lives, another adventure. Where are we without giving anything away, where are we in regard to the personalities and where they are in life when they decide to do this endeavor, I guess?
Okay. Nice. Well, if I could just say, too, because you were talking about this, the cast coming back, and so much of the crew is the same, and our incredible director, Kate, and Carrie, of course, the writer, and, jumping into these roles with people that you feel so comfortable with and know and love, and there's this safety, I feel like we're already so ahead of the game, Edwin, in regards to that, because we already have those relationships established, which is such a big part of it. And then to include Zach, which I wish I would have heard that interview. I'll have to hear it later, but he has been such a joy to have involved in this as well. Like, we are so lucky that he is a part of the group now. And in terms of the journey that the friends take, so friends that have been, so they have been friends since college. So they have this lifelong friendship, right? And
right. Mm-hmm.
in those types of friendships, I don't know if you have any personal friendships like that, but they go through waves, right? Where, you're really close in proximity, and then maybe you move away, and then there's ups and downs, and then things maybe they, it's an honest look at it that sometimes they're not always the strongest as they were, at one point.
Right.
And I think that's what this play kind of shows, is that you can go through those things, and what Emma does to try to bring that friendship back to the point that she knows it can be again. And so I think that that's the journey that Emma takes. And it's such a fun journey that the audience gets to go on with us, because, we go back into different decades, like the 80s and the 90s, and there's dancing. I don't know if Zach gave that away. If there's some dancing that happens. He did mention the
dancing.
Just,
he mentioned the time, all the different periods and stuff like that, and he mentioned that there's a COVID episode there, and I was thinking immediately that has to be one of the first insertions of that, where it has some weightiness in a play that in recent years. I mean, people are still it's like a few years after World War I. Everyone's still in kind of a haze, So we're still in kind of like that haze, and and the Purple Rose or Carrie has put that into this play. So there's that too. So there's that veracity to it that we can cling on to.
It's true. It's so true. Everything is like pre-COVID and post-COVID, like in my eyes, right? I don't know if it's like that for you. And she writes this scene where Zoom plays a factor, and it's so relevant, and everybody I think will relate, and I think that's what's so great about this show, is that there's so many relatable moments. COVID being the one you just mentioned, like everybody is going to relate to that, right? And, what we all went through. And then, even going back into the decades, all of that, I'm hoping people will leave and they'll be like, oh my gosh, I used to do that. Or, oh my God, did you see what she was wearing? I wore that. And, oh my God, that reminds me of, and then, they can have a conversation about that. And so that hopefully will be the conversation following the show.
I think that alone, that serves something also too, Sarab. As you know, when I speak to younger people and things, people who are born, say, the early 90s or later. Yeah. And one really good conversation I had with somebody, and he said, Ed, my whole life, my cognizant life has only been living in American crisis or international crisis. I've never known what it's like to live during the golden age. He said, you had the 90s, or you might have had the 70s, and things weren't really all tied up and stuff like that. I've only known, and the people I know, my peers, we've only known this malaise, kind of. That's not his word, I'm just sort of adding, because that's kind of like what it feels like. And this is so good because it adds a little continuity,
I agree with you.
To have those different periods.
Through years. Yes, I agree. So hopefully everybody will feel like a connection in some way.
That communication, I think, that reestablishment of that, I think is so, I'm so grateful that I'm older and that I lived a transitional life, because I can maybe communicate what should be salvaged from it, into the present. And that's exactly what this play is doing, I think, on that level to me. I hope I'm going in the right direction with that.
I think you are. I'm excited for you to see it.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see it. Let me see. I know there's Bob's character, and then there are these other guys who come into it. You were talking about the relationships. One of the great thing about long-term relationships is that you don't have to see them all the time. You can be out of touch, and then you kind of supposedly pick up where you left off. Really deep, good friends. Is that their situation of Emma and her friends, or has there been a severance of some kind that they need to really work to reestablish? What's their kind of situation?
Yep, there has not been a severance of
Okay.
any kind, and so they've been in communication and contact throughout their friendship, through all of it. Yes, and but just maybe things happen in their lives, and they don't see each other as often, and so it's more like that, and it's more like, out of the three, maybe one person values that face-to-face time more than some of the others, or people have personal issues going on in their lives and they put that as a precedent. And so it's more like that. So it isn't like any major event or incident that happened. It's just, I think, and that's why I think it's so honest. It's just, that's sometimes what happens, right? And you just got to work at it. You got to work at it to make it.
Absolutely. You said that beautifully. And, one thing that made me think also was that, with Carrie's plays, not just Emma's Weddings, but the others, What Springs Forth and the others, at some point, everything gets fracked, and it comes right down to the relationship. We either have something here or we don't have something here. What brought us together and what has kept us going, even with all the consternation, in the recent years. Is that kind of a situation that we're going to see among these friends?
It is. It is kind of like, let's take a look at what brought us together, why we stayed together, what we mean to each other. That is exactly it, Edwin. They go back and they are able to see that part of their lives, right? Like, what a gift if we could really do that, to go back and actually see these times where we could see how important these relationships were to us, and so they get to do that in this play.
Beautifully said. Ladies and gentlemen, our wonderful guest, Sarab Kamoo, who plays Emma, this acclaimed actor on stage, film, and television, is going to be from June 25th to August 30th in this production of Emma's Wedding, the 35th anniversary of the Purple Rose Theater and the season finale. You do not want to miss it. I was looking at everybody who's involved in this, Sarab, and I'm looking at Sarah Perline, a guest on this show with the set design, Suzanne Young, costume designer, Susie Reagan, a sound designer and fabulous actress, Dana Seacrest. I mean, that family at the Purple Rose, people on both sides. The actors are the crew. The crew are often the actors also.
Yes.
That's got to produce something. We tend to compartmentalize everything, but there's got to be kind of a collegiality there about, okay, let's try this one a little bit differently. That's got to give the supercharge, problems when they come up to resolutions, to be able to have that kind of experience on both sides. Is that correct?
Oh, it is. And that design team is so incredible. And, Kate Thompson, our director, said it the other day, in terms of what the design brings to this show. It's really kind of like, it's like its own character in and of itself, Edwin. You'll see there are so many design elements to this show that I can't even wait. I mean, I know some of them, but I don't even know all of them yet because we're still in the discovery process of rehearsals. So, but just the parts that I know, it's going to be so amazing to see the different aspects that this design team brings and adds to this creative process. But yeah, like I said, the team there, they're top notch. They are truly incredible. Like, I don't know. It's just it's a wonderful place to be, to work. And I'm so glad that you enjoy, being a patron and seeing the shows there. Absolutely
love it. And, it's all presided over by Jeff Daniels, actor and impresario. And, I was, thinking, with Zach a little while ago, that the idea of, say mentors, who they're very accomplished in one thing, yet they have the talent to be teachers. And not everyone can do that. Not every artist is good at accumulating pupils and disseminating what it is that they do, even being able to communicate that. Jeff does it with the Purple Rose, and everybody who's involved there seems to do it.
Yeah.
We have 1 minute left. Derek, we have 1 minute. I want to ask Sarab, good, all right, a couple of minutes. Sarab, I want to ask you one last question. This is away from Emma's Wedding and stuff like that. Given your Iraqi heritage and stuff, to me this seems like a very exciting period. Also a very challenging period, but a very exciting period to get that facet in that culture in our theaters in our films. Are we about to go through maybe a cultural somewhat uplift or even sort of renaissance for Iraqi-inspired or Muslim-inspired or from that region-inspired arts that we're going to be more aware of, that you've been so involved with Arabic to English, that you directed?
Yeah, I did direct a show called Arabic to English at Theater Nova in Ann Arbor, and the shows that I mentioned, the 9 Parts of Desire, the Baba, they're all Middle Eastern-related shows, and I got to do a show called English, which was nominated for a Tony. It was on Broadway. It's an incredible play. I did it at the Tipping Point Theater in Northville, and I just have to say my daughter was in it with me as well, which was an incredible experience. That's a whole separate conversation. But so that was a play about Iranian people who live in Iran who, I played an English teacher who were teaching students English. So I have been so lucky to have been a part of quite a few productions that have involved, Middle Eastern characters. And so I am hoping that I get to do more because I love that. And to see, people represented that maybe don't normally get represented on stage, or if I'm lucky in television or film, that would be such
Sarab
a gift,
Kamoo.
and I would hope it continues.
Thank you, Sarab. Sarab Kamoo, thank you so much for joining us today. Everybody, go see Emma's Weddings. It's going to be beginning later this month at the Purple Rose. More about that in the next week.